June 19th, 2020, Anthony. It's Friday. I'm feeling good. How about you?
I'm feeling good, buddy. Let's go.
Anthony Melchiori, great to see you, my friend.
How are you, my brother? Today is a day I can't get my lighting right. I'm feeling a little annoyed about that.
That's really sad, man. But it is what it is. Maybe we can play with that because this way we give people a glimpse behind the scenes of what it takes to put a show together, right? So let's complain about your lighting for a little bit. But hey, I got a fun T-shirt on. Producer Jeff got this for me a couple of weeks ago. It's what I do. I podcast and I know things. So I know a lot of things today, and I think your lighting looks all right.
You know what's interesting is if you look at us, we're a contrast, aren't we? I'm all buttoned up with a tie on, and you're wearing a T-shirt that you bought on the Fort Lauderdale boardwalk.
That's right. As my grandmother would say, I look schleppedick, right? So schleppedick, a little Yiddish word for really looking not put together and a mess.
Yeah, you look schleppedick. Okay. What are we talking about today? What's the show today?
I think we got it coming on at 12:30. Amanda Fraiser of Forbes, but before that, I thought we could just hang out, talk a little bit, get stuff, but have some fun conversation about things. But I thought it would be important just to take a moment and recognize the fact that today is Juneteenth, and because we've been focused very much on diversity and stuff, that it was a good idea to maybe to bring it up and recognize what an important day it is.
And I think that's interesting. One, last year we didn't even know what that date was if you were in our community, and now. Hopefully it's going to be recognized as a national holiday. I think it eventually will be. And, and like you said, with what's going on and stuff, it's and stuff. And it should be an everyday thing, not a sometimes thing. And, I posted something on my Instagram for 18 days. And if you go to my Instagram, you'll see what I posted and why I posted. And even that post got people saying, why are you doing this? And we're in two different worlds right now. It's incredible. But today is the day we got to focus. We've got to go back and learn what this day means, and we got to learn the history of this day. And I think we need to teach the history of this day. And so it's an important part of our history and our culture. And we need to all, not just the Black community, not just the minority community, but the entire country. When you say, indivisible with liberty and justice for all, it's got to mean something.
Yeah, it really definitely does need to mean something. We're trying our hardest. We're going to do our part to make sure that everybody feels that this is an inclusive type of atmosphere and try to tell stories that may not have typically been told. If you have any suggestions and ideas of great stories we could tell, incredible people that we could feature, send us a note. Either drop it here in the chat box or just send us a note privately, and we will get to that.
When I go back in what my history's been and the people I've come in contact with. And there's three people, three friends of mine that happen to be African-American. And all three of them at some point in their career or their life, they told me something special, just something how I've impacted their life. And like at the time they were in their either mid-20s or mid-30s. Why does it have to take so long for someone that's a white guy to impact somebody in the African-American community and to give them an opportunity? And again, this is not about me. This is not about you. This is about why are we now just talking about it? Where this was kind of automatic for a lot of people, I like to think like myself and like you. It hasn't been. And we have to do a deeper dive of why. It's not enough to say, I do good. I'm a good guy. It's just not enough.
Yeah, I agree. We could all take a lesson of what's been going on over the last few weeks and do a little bit better. Not saying we have to transform our entire lives, but I think it falls under the whole concept of what we've been wanting to talk about today, the notion of leadership and maybe trying to be 1% better as often as you possibly can so you can be
I think we have to be a lot bit better. I don't think we have to be a little bit better. I think we have to be a lot bit better.
Well, I'm saying it more like movements, small movements, continually moving forward to always strive to be a better human being.
It's got to be something every day. So what are we talking about, my friend?
No, we're not talking about anything. I want to talk to you a little bit about leadership, but I'd also love to hear what you guys out there are thinking. Maybe drop us a question, anything that you want to ask of Anthony and myself. We've been kicking around the hospitality industry for a long time. Anthony's been at war at hotels for many, many years. First, obviously, running properties and being in VP positions and reinventing properties, developing properties, and also, didn't you have a show, a couple of TV shows or something
Yeah,
like
I think
that as
so.
well?
I think so. What's interesting about this show is, if in the last 3-4 months now, is you have all kinds of different leaders, right? You have different leaders and different branding of leaders that are a little bit more. Who's the gentleman in charge of Motel 6? What was his name?
Rob Palesci.
Okay, Rob, what a great human being, and like he just was out there, man. He was just boom, and like you felt it, you sensed it. And whether it be Joe Hessian from who we had on a couple of days ago, from what's the name of his company?
Snow Operating.
Thank you. I'm just going to sit here and ask you questions.
That's all right.
For Snow Operating, like leaders are different, but the one thing that they all have in common, look, Jerry Anzarello or Horst Schulze, what they all had together was they had optimism.
Right.
They had energy. And, one of the things you and I talk about every day, not every day, but often, is that you are always going to, why don't you keep going there, Glenn? I just had an issue I got to deal with. I'm sorry.
This is great. Now I'm all alone here. So let's talk about Anthony's tie. Hey, nice tie, Anthony. I know he really appreciates that. But the fact is, one of the things that I get when talking about the theme of energy is people always say to me, Glenn, you have so much energy all of the time, right? And that's mostly because, Anthony, that I'm really afraid of everything falling apart. And if I don't have that energy in public, if I don't put out that persona in public, then I don't think I'm going to get my message across.
And that's what we got to work on. And let me give you a little backstory, which just happened. My daughter's leaving; she's going out for the day, and there's a rule in my house that no one leaves without saying goodbye to Daddy. And so she's 20 years old, but she's still like, I have to say goodbye to her or I don't feel right. So sorry about that.
I know. Hey, that is much more important, right? And I got to tell you, Anthony, that's one of the things that I think I've really learned over the last 3 or 4 months of being stuck here. I was here with the exception of the 2 days I was in Vegas. I've been sitting in this house since, I don't know, March 9th, March 10th. And it's really helped me reprioritize a lot of things. Think about what's important in life. Before, I used to talk all about access to Sky Lounges and how many miles I'm going to get and the events that I'm going to. But life has been a lot more quieter. It's been a lot more meaningful in a lot of ways. And I think it's really stripped out all of those things that we thought were important, but realized really aren't essential to our growth and importance as human beings.
And that's one of the things that we were talking about before I interrupted us, was enthusiasm. Like you say, you wake up in the morning and sometimes you're like, oh my God, it's the day, this, that, and the other thing. Every person that we've had on that is in a leadership position, almost every person, and actually a person that's going to come on after we speak today, Amanda from Forbes, they wake up in the morning with an enthusiasm and with an optimism that you cannot train. Okay, you cannot train people to be optimistic. What you can do is you can let people understand a couple of core things, right? And one of the core things is we as a human race, we have to look forward to stuff. If you don't look forward to stuff, how are you going to be optimistic? So you have to look forward to the world getting better. You have to look forward to your career. You have to look forward to raising your family. You have to look forward to getting an ice cream cone. You have to look forward to the things that are in front of you. Now, not everything's going to be great. You're going to look for finals, SAT scores, that big meeting. I mean, there was a meeting that I did at Tishman once. I don't think I've ever said this out loud, that I literally almost collapsed under nerves. And it was only maybe 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And I was so nervous and so racked with fear. And even though I was prepared, I had stage fright, I guess, in this meeting. And I was terrible. I just was terrible. And I remember leaving that meeting saying, I'll never do that again. I'll never look forward to something with fear. I will look forward to something with optimism. I will look forward to and say, this is not something I want to do, but this is something I have to do. And what is the joy in doing this? Well, I'm the VP of Tishman. They're here listening to me. I'm in charge of $1 billion building in Times Square. How did I get here? I have no idea. Instead of looking at it that way, I looked at it like I'm going to fail. Oh my God. And the fear almost collapsed me. I almost threw up and just walked out of the room. It was so bad. So at that point, I decided that optimism was my only choice, because the negative choice was just going to get me in a bad place. So to me, every one of those leaders that we've spoken to, including I like to think myself, is we're optimistic people. And if I'm a UFC guy, right? So in the UFC fight, when you see two guys or two girls go at each other, the one person that's getting beat up but looks at the other person going, "Come on!" Like that's kind of how you got to look at life. When the COVID and now the economy and all the tension that we have in this country, we have to look like, come on, let's go. We can be better than this. We were nervous to talk about race relations. I mean, 2 weeks ago. I'm not nervous about it anymore. Why should I be nervous about talking about race relations? We've got an issue and we've got to deal with it, and we have a platform. So optimism, enthusiasm is to me the key components of getting us through this and really understanding your personal brand. I talk about personal branding a lot. We're writing a book about personal branding. And I told you, the one chapter is we interrupt this book for a pandemic, right? And now I'm actually going to expand on that, on that chapter. So actually the chapter may become the book. But it's we all found ourselves, like you said, you found yourself more understanding that's not about Sky Miles, it's about your family. And same thing. One of the things I'd like to say is, yes, I've spent more time with my family, but our connection is no deeper or no lighter. It's like I've always felt like that. We've always had that. Like my kid can't leave the house without kissing me. Can't. Like we've always had that connection.
Right.
And so even when I'm really, really busy and flying all over the place, I've never felt guilty about it. I still don't feel guilty about it because when I'm here and even when I'm not here, I feel they know. I'm very connected to them. I know everything. I know everyone of their friends. I don't remember any of their names because they make fun of me all the time. But about that, but I'm connected to them, and I think that that's really, really important. Coming through this, we're going to change, but hopefully, you don't change too much because if your personal brand was cemented and you were doing things right, your brand doesn't need to shift that much.
Right. Well, I think we both kind of shifted our personal brands, though, in the last 3 or 4 months or so, or I should say, honed it, changed it just a little bit. We've sharpened it by being able to have this particular venue, and we're so blessed to have so many people watching us every single day.
Well, I think what we've done is I don't think people change, especially people our age, right? I don't think we change. I think we shift, right? I think we shift our thinking. And, doing a show like this, I'm very contained, right? I'm in front of a camera. I can't move. I got a co-host with me. You're basically the guy who's running the microphone and kind of directing the show. And I've got a place. Now I'm used to being the guy that is running, a lot of different angles. So from that perspective, I didn't change because this is who I am. When I'm in a board meeting or running a hotel, I'm not always losing my mind. So I've had to shift, but I didn't have to change. And I think if you had to change because of this pandemic and you're like, oh my God, then you were about to get a change anyway in your life somewhere. If you made a drastic change, you were on the precipice of changing anyway.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I want to talk about being uncomfortable and stuff like that in a second. But Craig Sullivan says, Glenn, are you writing a book? We all know Anthony is writing a book. I'm working on a multimedia monograph video series called Adapters about gutsy genius thinkers in the fourth age. And I partnered with Sean Worker, an industry CEO out there to do this. So what we've been doing has been interviewing a lot of people that we think are great adapters and those gutsy genius thinkers that make big changes. And Anthony, that's why we interviewed you for one of the volumes that we're going to be putting out there. So that'll be exciting to see when that comes together shortly. Yeah, and then
wait, hold on. This is why, Glenn, you are the real host of the show, and Anthony is the celebrity co-host. Just asking, I say, hey, Mark, you've been here, you've been a big fan, so I'm not going to insult you. But if you haven't figured out that we try to share this and that we're partners on this, and you haven't been paying attention, and that Glenn is 10 times better than me, and by you saying that to me, just makes me feel more insecure. Okay.
Well, you shouldn't be. Anthony, you're really the real brains behind this operation. And what Anthony is doing is he's allowing me to appear as if I'm leading the show because of my my fragility.
We really truly are partners. We had a call yesterday that really kind of cemented that. But so this is what I want to do. I'm going to play a game, right?
Yeah.
I want you to ask me to tell a story. Now, you can ask me to tell a story about branding, management, leadership, getting angry, turning around the hotel. Just ask, because one of the things that people seem to like, and somebody liked the story I told about Tishman, because I'm vulnerable, and it's a true story. Not only a true story, I'm going to ask me a question, but I'm going to actually follow that up. So I came out of the meeting. I was sick to my stomach.
Mhm.
I knew I just crapped the bed. I did a terrible job, and I felt really bad about myself.
All right, hold on. Mark says, "No, of course, Anthony. I love you, man. You both bring great stuff. Don't hate me. I want to make sure he feels comfortable right away there."
I love you, brother.
All right, please continue your story, Anthony. Sorry to interrupt you.
So I go into the bar the
Mhm.
next day. We're at this hotel, and there are two of the people that were kind of my counterparts were in the bar. And so I walk into the bar, and they don't see me behind them. And I took a step, and as I stepped in to say hello, because I was a little nervous because I know I crapped the bed the day before.
Right.
I heard them say, "What was he on? What was wrong with him?" And they knew they were talking about me. And I listened. I stayed behind them and I listened. And they were making fun of me.
Mhm.
And I leaned in and I said, "I don't know. I wasn't on anything, but man, wasn't that terrible? Oh, what the hell was going on with me yesterday? I was horrible. I'm an idiot." And I walk away. And I basically never talked to them again. I had to deal with them a lot, but that was the end of my relationship with them, because instead of bringing me into the fold, instead of saying, "Hey, dude, we all go through this. We all like, I don't know what it was. You're usually on point." It was just one of those moments where I felt overwhelmed with all the information I had to provide. And instead of bringing me in and saying, "Hey, dude, it's all good. We all screw up," they made fun of me, and that pissed me off.
Right. Hey, Jeff's got a great question for you. Jeff, why don't you pop on and ask the question yourself?
Anthony.
Yes, Jeff. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, we've a lot of people in this country have experienced something that maybe they'd never have, and a lot of people have lost a lot of things, and a lot of people would consider themselves failures right now. I would like to hear the story of what you consider your biggest failure, and how you transitioned out of it, and how you fought your way to your next opportunity.
Thank you very much for the question. My biggest failure has been to put my career in other people's hands, to put what I thought everybody else was smarter than me, to let those two people at the bar affect me, to let people tell me I got left back in first grade. So when I was in fourth grade, they were making fun of me. Then in 12th grade, I got left back again because I failed an English test. And then people found out my SAT score and they laughed at me. And then I went in the military and I got a 3.6 in college. And then my life started to take shape. All those things of feeling stupid when I was a kid, not having a father, other people having a father, my mother doing things, if you watch the movie about my life, doing things that maybe, other mothers weren't doing to put food on the table. And then people judging me shorter than other people. I was 113 pounds when I was in high school.
Wow.
Actually, I wrestled in 11th grade at 92 pounds. Jonathan Schwartz, he'll know if he's listening. He wrestled with me, and he's still one of my best friends. 92 pounds, and that's when I started to realize, I started working out and stuff, but it wasn't to like fight people. It was just like I wanted to be stronger. I didn't want to be a guy who's 92 pounds and that wasn't strong. And now at 55, I can deadlift 315 pounds.
Wow.
So it was not about other people decide who I am. And I think that was my biggest failure. And at some point, I think right before I got the show, I was like, excuse my language, but fuck everything. Fuck everybody. I'm just going to do me. I'm just going to do my best. And if I fail, I fail, but I'd rather fail on my terms than fail on somebody else's terms. So I spent a lot of years living my career in other people's mind. And in my movie, I have a 20-second movie in my head. And the 20-second movie was, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Do I belong in a room with Tishman?
Right.
Why does everybody come to me and pay me all this money to turn around the hotels? Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? And one of the things I realized was I was good enough and I was smart enough, but I was smart enough to hire really smart people. I was smart enough to let people do their job. I was smart enough that when I saw people getting mad at me, that I realized, oh, it is me, it's not them. So I just started living my 20-second movie and not living somebody else's 20-second movie.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, because I think each and every one of us feels inadequate and incapable and all of that negativity from time to time. But it's good to see that you were able to really focus on that particular issue and understand that it was something that your brain was playing tricks on you, and being able to turn it around and use it as a moment of empowerment for you.
Go ahead, Jeff. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, add to that, Glenn, after Anthony's done, it's your turn.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Please.
podcast boy. Go ahead. Answer the question.
My greatest failure. I think my greatest failure, and the reason why I was processing for a second is I was thinking about it more in the job place. But I think my greatest failure was allowing fear to control me as opposed to allowing me to control my fear. And I'm better at it at some times, but other times I'm not as good at it, right? To me, the biggest accomplishment for overcoming my fear was early on in my career, saying hello to people that I didn't know, or even just being able to make it into the conference room and the cocktail party and not get scared and run out of the room. I was very fearful, very worried. People wouldn't like me. People would think that I have any value, that I couldn't add anything to the conversation. But after a little while, I got comfortable with that. Then fear held me back from making good moves in my career that probably could have gotten me farther along if possible. Then I felt like the best time I overcame that was 4.5 years ago when I actually quit my job that paid me really well to start my own business. That was scary. That was difficult because I had moved my family out to Long Island to continue to progress in my career with this job. And then a year later, I threw it all out the window and made changes. And I had to make sure that my family was safe and this and that and the other thing. So that was
yeah, and I think we both said the same thing, right? We let fear control us and other people's opinions and view of that. So there was one question. Unless you have another question, I want to answer this question. It's from Mark. How did you feel right before the first Hotel Impossible show?
That was a crazy experience you went through.
Yeah. And I think we talked about that before.
We talked about it on the audio show, but our audience is so much bigger now, and I'd love for them to be able to hear this story.
So basically, think about a 43-year-old man or 45-year-old man that is well known in New York City turning around hotels. He's the guy that everybody calls and say, here's the keys, figure it out, open it up, turn it around. And I just built a team, and we did it. And I've been successful doing that. And with that came, some status and a little bit of money, right?
Right.
But I was miserable. I was miserable because I was making rich people richer. I felt I was getting older, and I was going to basically get kicked to the side at some point because somebody else can do my job for 3 times less than what I was making. I was probably one of the highest paid guys in the city, and I just didn't think it was something I wanted to do anymore. I would love running hotels. I love turning around hotels, but I just didn't think that my business, Anthony Melchiori business, was going to be going up in value. When I started this business, the Anthony Melchiori Hotel Guy business in 1990, I went up pretty rapidly. I made 6 figures pretty quickly, and then kept on growing and growing and growing. And I never saw a time where it was going to spin off where I wasn't going to do as well. And then about 43, 44, I was like, oh, okay, I don't know if this is going to continue because of the way things are going. And I was just tired of making rich people richer.
Right.
So I decided to do the show. So when I was on set, you have this guy that just basically now is telling his friends he's going to be a reality reality star. And he's going to do the hotel business on TV. And people made fun of me. Again, here we go, right? I have one neighbor I won't mention, but I had a friend of mine tell my wife, when is he going to get back to reality and get back into hotel business? It's never going to happen for him. Had another friend tell me he had a busboy job for me when I was, or a bellman job when I was finished playing around on TV, which is great because I would love a bellman job in New York City in the Union. They make more money than some general managers. So I didn't see that as an insult at all, but I saw that as like they didn't believe in me. So the day it happened, when the cameras came on, I was a nervous wreck. And the producer and the director were fighting. They were married, and they asked me to do something I shouldn't have done, and it just was a shit show. And we basically lost the show, the first scene. I decided I go in the back of the hotel and I started to cry, get really upset and emotional because I was like, I just screwed my career up. I don't have a job, and all the money I needed to get myself to the point where I was ready to do the show, I had no money. I went through everything except my pension and my wife's pension, but like cash flow wise, I needed to get a job. And if this didn't work out, and I decided that F this, I'm going to do it my way. and I guess basically started to move in the right direction. So I was very nervous, but we started moving that day in the right direction. 2:00 in the morning, I go check on construction, and I wasn't prepared to actually tell you this as I started the story, but I just realized 2:00 I went on to look at construction because, again, the first time we've ever done the show. I've never done construction like all of a sudden we're going to do it in 3 days. We're ripping out the lobby. We were cutting off more than we can chew. So I want to make sure we were chewing it. And I go and I look at construction, and I go into the bell closet, and I sit there and I open up my phone, and I'm looking through my Facebook and my DMs and all that stuff. And I see RIP Herbie Russell Hooks. Well, Herbie Russell Hooks is my best friend and the godfather of my children and my wife's best friend, and as close to me as any human being could be without being, well, actually closer than some blood and closer than really anybody can be. So on the day that I started to change my career and change my life, and the guy who was supposed to ride this ride with me, who was supposed to be there with me on the airplanes going, I was going to make him my assistant because he was a retired corrections officer, died the day that I started this gig. So it was a pretty intense day, and I can't go into it any further outside because I'll start to break down, but it was the best and worst day of my life.
All right, before we bring Amanda on, we got a couple of really good.
Wait, hold on a second. Yeah. You have nothing to add to the end of that? Like you just go on to the next question? That was very.
But we've had this conversation multiple times.
But you said other people haven't. But that's how you.
All right.
That was weak, bro. I gotta be honest with you.
I'm sorry. That was super weak.
That was insensitive.
Yeah, this is F up Friday, not feel good Friday, apparently, right here. So, all right, but so you had to go back and you had to redo that scene, and that first scene that you did was with the young kid who was the valet, right? And you introduced a learning concept into that, which I think really became a hallmark of the show. And in my opinion, I think really set you guys on the course for what that show wanted to be.
Yeah, because then we got a great director, and he just let me be me, and the rest is history. All right, now you can move on.
All right, thank you. All right, so one question. This is really good one for you, Anthony. Anthony, I am a big fan of yours. Can you share how you prepared for your first meeting with the CEO, and how did that meeting go?
The first time I've ever met with a CEO. Yeah. Is that what your question?
Yeah, and how did it go? How did you prepare yourself? Were you nervous? Because I would think when I was younger and I would meet with someone with a great title, I was all freaked out. How about you?
I'm going to tell you a story because I was in the military, so I dealt with colonels and generals at a very early age, at 25. So to me, I was meeting with CEOs the day I was born into a suit or into a uniform. So I can't really tell you the first time I sat around a board table and felt like, wow, this is scary. Outside of my first GM, when I was I think I've told the story, when I was just a trainee, or I was front desk agent or night auditor. And I met with my general manager, and she made me feel real special. She said my suit looked nice, my tie looked nice, and that I handled myself well in the meeting. And she gave me a lot of confidence. Arlene, if you're listening, thank you.
And you're getting compliments on your tie today and your knot today, by the way.
Thank you. Well, hopefully my knot always looks like this, even when I'm running around Tulum or Vietnam. I always try to make it perfect. But anyway, so I would say the first time, and again, it wasn't so long ago. It was maybe 15 years ago. No, less than that, maybe. I won't tell you the hotel or the owner because I don't want to. You'll know who he is. He's one of the richest men in the world. He's the 26th or 46th richest man in the world. And we turned around his hotel, and I never met him before because he has partners that I dealt with all the time. And I remember he's a billionaire. I've never met a billionaire before. And I remember he asked to have a meeting. He was flying all over the world and flying in New York on his private jet to buy some buildings. And he wanted to meet with me. I was like, he wants to meet with me? He's like, yeah. So, okay. So he comes for dinner. I sit down. And before he even said hello, he said, F you. And I was like, yes, sir. Thank you very much. How are you today? How was your flight in? How was everything? What else can I do for you? You know, this is our menu. We made this menu specifically for you because whatever. And I was just like trying to
yeah, right.
I was a nervous wreck. He just told me to F myself.
Yeah. So you got totally thrown off your game and you're trying to make a good impression. So how do you?
Yeah. One of the things of turning around hotels and doing this for so long is it's really hard to throw me off my game. And so he didn't.
But you were young at the time.
No, it was only 15 years ago. So I was 40. I was 40. And so he didn't throw me off my game. I was just like, whatever his game is, I'm not playing it.
Right.
And I'm just not going the way he's going. And so he goes, "You're not going to ask me why I said that?" I said, "Sir, you're entitled to say whatever you want. It's your building. I work for you. I don't know why you would say it, but you don't have to explain yourself." And I'll never forget as long as I live. And he said, "Because if I would have hired you an effing year ago, I would have saved a lot of money."
Right.
Because what he was mad about, it took them a year to recruit me because I didn't want the job.
Right.
So I didn't want the job. And so it took them a year to recruit me. And the time they recruited me, and then me and my team started turning around the hotel. So then we laughed, and literally 3 seconds later, he was gone. He didn't stay for dinner. He just came to New York to tell me to go after myself.
That's great.
The good news is he made a lot of money when he sold the hotel.
Yeah, I actually had I was part of a dinner with a billionaire last December, and it was one of the strangest meals that I've ever had in my entire life. I'd never hung out with I've worked with billionaires before, but actually going out and eating with one was so strange. And he just felt like he was in charge the entire time, and like I was hardly even on the radar, and I'm just in a totally different universe from them. So
yeah, they talk about horse farms and wineries.
Yeah, right. And then ordered for everybody and told me what I was going to have. Yeah. So that was really strange.
So I want to get to this question. This is a good question.
Which one?
I just sent it to you in the private chat.
Oh, that's what popped up. Let me. There we go.
Okay. The reason it says, Anthony, any thoughts on the resort rescue show that lasted a few days? It was fake. It was the complete opposite of your real.
I never even heard of that.
Yeah, it was hosted by a guy named Shane Green out of Vegas, and he is probably one of the smartest. And I would love to have him on the show. He's probably one of the smartest hoteliers in the business. Probably what he forgot about the business, I still got to learn. Right. Just one of the great people in this industry, and does great things. And I was on set one day, and I got a press release to my DM, and it said, or to my email, and then said Resort Rescue on Travel Channel at 10 o'clock on Mondays or 9 o'clock on Mondays. I was like, what? So I call the vice president of Travel Channel. I go, what the hell is this? Mm-hmm. And they go, yeah. Oh, nobody told you? I said, no. I said, listen, you can do 10 shows. I don't care. But
they want to capitalize on your.
But wouldn't you call me first to say, hey, can you give us some notes and maybe help you through this process? Because again, the way things work, people have to understand. Travel Channel owns the show. I created the show. I brought it to a production company. The production company formatted it with me. We shoot the show. We edit. We do everything. And then we hand the box to Travel Channel. That's how it works. And then they say yes or no. They like it or they don't like it. But they don't produce it. So when they were doing Resort Rescue, they went with a different production company, a different host. So you're going to get what you got, whatever it is.
Right.
It's a completely different thing. It's like, well, it was Travel Channel. Why didn't they figure, because it was just a different thing, different host. Now, I see this press release and I said, I'm going to take the higher road. I reach out to Shane. I said, hey, Shane, this is Anthony Melchiori. Congratulations on the show. I look forward to working with you. Any questions, let me know. Unfortunately, the show doesn't do great coming out of the gate. They had 13 shows, and the first 2 or 3 didn't get the ratings. Shane calls me, and he says to me, hey, man, thank you so much. And I said, how are you? He goes, well, it doesn't look like the ratings are doing great. He goes, what is it? I go, I haven't seen the show, Shane, so I don't know. But you're well respected in this industry. I mean, you know a lot more than I do, man. I would love to do a show with you. So let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. Tell me the first scene. And I won't tell you the scene, but I will tell you the first words out of his mouth. The producer told me to. That's all he said. And I said, stop talking. The producer told me to.
Right. Do
this. Okay. I have a lot of producers that don't like me.
Right.
Because producers don't tell me to do anything.
Well, it's your image, it's your reputation, and you have to be authentically you, or else you're going to betray yourself, and the viewers are going to smell that out really quick.
But more importantly than that, it's like Jeff. Hey, Jeff, if Jeff coming on right now and telling me, hey, Anthony, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to talk about these 5 components of leadership and branding, and here are the notes, and I want you to just put it in your voice. And I'd be like, have you bumped your head? Like, right. Jeff, get the hell out of here. Like now if Jeff asked me, hey, could you talk on a subject? And, this is kind of my viewpoint. That's a different way of approaching me. But if Jeff tells me to do something, or you tell me to do something, I'm not going to do it. unless we collaborate on it. So the producers, Maddie and Lisa, who at the end of, I'd say, fourth, fifth season, and then do the rest of the show, were my people. Those are the people I wanted on my set as much as possible. I couldn't have them all the time because we were doing a lot of shows. But and then Tara, who did 5 Star Secrets with me, in Extreme Hotels. Oh no, she did Extreme Hotels with me. And those producers I would die for. I would do anything for them. They could tell me to do anything, and I would, because they understood how my brain worked and they understood what I needed. And I had Maddie, I probably told you this before. One day I was asking Maddie a question, and Maddie at the time was maybe 27 years old, and she's one of my favorite human beings alive. And she says to me, I go over to her and I go, Maddie, I need you. Come here. Right on the show. Come here, I need to talk to you. And she turns to me and she goes, sit over there. I'll be right with you. And I was just like, okay. And I sat over there and I said, okay. And I said, Maddie, she goes, I know what you're going to say. I said, no, you don't. And I said it, and she goes, that's what I was fixing for you. She knew what I was about. I was bothering me without me having to say it. So producers and teams, we have a job to work together. Okay. Getting back to America, we have to work together. Okay. Not against each other. And then we can all play in the same sandbox. But until you respect each other, you can't do that. And so what were you going to say, Jeff?
I was just going to say to the audience, I can 100% attest that Anthony is telling the absolute truth. He never does anything I tell him to do.
Definitely worth the wait.
Jeff, that's 100% true. And unless you tell me to do something, then I always do it. That's Jeff, come on. I'm always asking you your opinion. But the point being is, getting back to what we were first talking about, in the branding book that I'm doing, personal branding. In the matter of fact, please go to eCornell, Google my name, eCornell, Anthony Melchiori, personal branding. It's a free course. It's like 50 videos, 100% free. They're not trying to sell you something. They allowed me to do it. And it's about personal branding. And please take it, especially now that we all have a little time. And I'm not saying it because it's me. It's because it really, right now in these times, the only person you can count on is yourself. There's people around you, but even the people around you, you don't want to get them sick. Even the people around you are stressed out. So the only person you can really count on is yourself. And what does your personal brand look like? And make sure that gets straight. And like a couple of days ago, I told Glenn, I took myself to the beach 2 or 3 times in the last 4 months and yelled at myself, screamed at myself. I've never gone to the beach every day. And I've only lived a block from it. I've been going to the beach every day now because it sets my head. I can't go to the gym as much as I used to, so it resets my head. So you've got to double down on your personal brand, but just make sure your personal brand, that you have clarity on it. What other questions we have, my brother?
We got a lot of questions, but the lovely Amanda Fraiser has been sitting backstage a long time. I'd love to get her in on the conversation as well. You good with that?
One of my favorite people on the universe.
All right, let's bring her in. Amanda Fraiser, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Of Forbes, of Travel Guide. How are you doing today? Welcome.
Very well. Nice to see you both. Happy Father's Day weekend.
Hey,
thank you very much.
Thanks very much. I'm really looking forward to having permission to do nothing for 20 minutes this weekend. It's going to be awesome.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah. So
tell everybody your title. Tell everybody what you do.
I am the Executive Vice President of Standards and Ratings for Forbes Travel Guide, which encompasses a lot of things. Anthony, we've met quite a few times at our events. So putting on our annual awards event is a big part of my role, but primarily our area just really oversees the standards that we use to assess our hotels and restaurants and spas around the world. And, that's what we use to determine these star ratings that we put out every year.
Glenn, may I say something? Go to one shot of Amanda. I'm going to talk about, go to one shot. She represents basically 5-star brand. She represents excellence. And just look at her backdrop. Look at how perfect it is. Look at the lighting. Look at the flowers. Look at the framing. Look at the white pillow, the brick. Like, just perfection.
Yeah, you know what's really funny? When I hear something like that, I initially say Anthony's taking a slap at me because I look so horrible today. So,
well, I love your T-shirt. I heard a few nice comments about Anthony's tie, but that's a great T-shirt.
Thank you so much. So Forbes does a really great job, and for those of you out there who may not realize it, not only do they rate hotels, but they empower hoteliers to deliver that 5-star service. And you're thinking these days about how you out there can help employees please make them feel good, because we're in such a strange time, the most challenging time that we've ever had here in the hospitality industry. Let's share a little bit what you're doing for us to help empower the individual find success.
Thank you. So, we've obviously been off the road, as soon as everything really started to happen, beginning of the year and especially around the March timeframe. And the biggest questions we started to get and to see as soon as a lot of the hotels started to put together all their plans for reopening and their health and safety protocols, which was super important to see and get out. And we read all of those as well. Some of the biggest questions we got most frequently were things like, I know I'm going to have to wear a mask when I go back to work, but how do I still smile? How, with all these extra things that I have to do, can I still deliver that 5-star service, that 4-star service? How can I still give my guest a really great experience? So what we decided to do to help complement those great best practices that the hotels are putting out was to create our own set of best practices, which really speak to service. So we decided to take the things that we knew hotels had promised that they would be delivering as part of their guest experience when they reopened. And we said, you know what, you might be having to do this, this, and this, but just make sure that you think about the guest experience at the end of the day. So I don't know, take temperature checks, for example. Most properties are doing some form of temperature checks right now, those that are fortunate enough to be opening. And really what we put in our document was to really remember how the guest is feeling. Think about your communication, think about how you can make them comfortable through this really different, unusual experience, and bring it back to the service. But really that's the, that's the point of our document and the focus of it.
Right.
And what I love about what the heck did I just do to my camera?
I know. While you're saying that, I said the smiling thing with the mask. Well, when you get to be my age, it's no big deal. You just smile. You see the crow's feet. Everybody knows what's going on. So I got that in my favor. Anthony?
You know, one of the things somebody said the best thing ever happened to Forbes was Amanda. And I backed out 100%, even though I love Peter and I love everybody there. There's something about when you're at a convention and there's a million things going on and there's a million balls in the air, and your demeanor and your just execution, you articulate what you want in a very professional way. And I don't think anyone's ever seen you sweat. I think when you work out, you don't sweat.
I don't work out, so that's easy enough.
but no, it really is true.
That's a compliment from you. Thank you.
And again, even the way the way you set up the camera and the lighting and everything, it's like details matter. One of the things that Glenn said in the beginning of this is like right now, or maybe you even said it, that people really need to understand, yes, their hotel and yes, their 5-star, 4-star, whatever. It's important. But how about me? Like right now, like my industry, everybody's out of work. And my hotel may not open. My brand may not really be there where I thought it would be in 5 years. When you have Hilton and Marriott, reducing their work staff, everything's up in the air. So I think right now, personal branding and leadership is critical, and you provide that on a level that no one else does. And just yourself, just because of the way you act and the way you are. What did you hear us? I don't know if you heard us before. We were talking a little bit. What can you add to that conversation?
I joined your conversation, I think, at an interesting point in your podcast. And I think, Glenn, you were talking about things that you wish you had done differently and, perhaps personal reflections on things. And, I had a very similar story as you were talking. I still am incredibly shy. And my mother's thought to get me over that shyness and build some self-confidence, because she knew it was super important. She decided I needed to do ballet and go live on stage. And
that's really great for body image too.
Hundreds of people. So, the reason I'm bringing that up, not only because Glenn had mentioned it, but, in this industry, we all have to be confident about our roles. And that comes down to the training and being confident in your brand and knowing that you've got great managers that are there to look after you. They're on the floor there to back you up, not spot you, nitpick on things that you're not doing, but there to encourage you and give you self-confidence. And that self-confidence in our industry is so incredibly important, because that comes through in a natural way that you interact with the guests. So self-confidence, to me, just looking back and joining and hearing your story, Glenn, is incredibly important. I wish I'd learned that a lot sooner as well.
I think we all do. And I feel perpetually behind. I always feel like I should be further along than I am. And it still torments me on some days, and other days I don't. All right. Most important question of the day coming at us from Micah Hill. What is your dog's name?
My dog's name is Star.
Star?
Of course it is. But I think that's really important what we all struggle with, because when you see younger people see us, like you have a big position and Glenn's got a lot of influence in the industry and I had a TV show and I have an influence in the industry. And when you look at us, we were born. We went to kindergarten. We went to first grade. I didn't go to kindergarten, but we went to first grade. We went to high school. Some of us went to college. We had our first job. We got our butts kicked. We felt insecure. We didn't get the job we wanted. We've had tragedy. We've had loss.
Gotten fired.
We've gotten fired. So many things. People have made fun of us. So many things have happened in our life. We didn't get here by a golden parachute. We didn't get here. I wasn't raised on third base, right? I didn't slide into home. So none of us did. And so that's what to me is important about the book that I'm writing, and also about having people like you on and talking about. I asked Glenn let's just talk about personal branding and leadership today. He goes, well, Amanda's coming on, so a perfect person to talk about it. Because to me, that is everything right now. It is everything. We don't know. Listen, let's put everything on the table. 5 years from now, we don't know Forbes will be around. We don't know where Hilton will be, where Marriott will be. We don't know where anything will be. I don't know where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
Things have shifted. Like, they haven't shifted and they're going to shift back. They've shifted and never going back. They're never going back. Period. We've realized that. We understand that. It doesn't mean it won't be better. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean it won't come back.
Change can be good. Yeah, change can absolutely be good.
But it's going to shift. And right now we need leaders and we need people to double down on their personal brand. They need to understand their personal brand. So how do you come over this shyness? Because I don't get that from you, because I just get that that's your demeanor and that's just the way you present yourself. I didn't know that there was this shyness behind you, to be honest with you, because you are such a good speaker and you are, you do fill up a room. When you come in the room, people know Amanda's in the room. So how have you overcome that?
It's just a lot of, you talk to yourself a lot as well. And I don't mean out loud, but in your mind, you have to really, the same way that, a general manager or a great manager talks to their team and inspires them, you have to do that with yourself as well a little bit, and be proud of your failures as well, and know that you can grow and learn from them. I think just a little bit of self-reflection and some humility is always goes a long way as well.
Anthony, I'd like to add about that, because I've gone through that process as well. And this is where that 1% thing comes. I used to be very frightful of things. I used to not take risks. I used to be too conservative in things. And by focusing on it and just trying to get 1% better at it constantly, before you knew it, like a year later or whatever it is, 2 years later, 5 years later, I made a complete transformation about who I was. So all the things that frightened me, plagued me, worried me, held me back, I was able to wrestle down to the ground, punch out a little bit, and turn to my advantage. And now I don't really worry about that. I don't ever have those fears anymore about going on stage or going to a room full of people I don't know, because I've done all of the hard work over an extended period of time and gotten rid of all of those demons. And I had a lot of them for being picked last for the kickball team when I was a kid. Let me tell you, that was really hard to get past. So everybody can do it. We're all frightened little kids at some point in our lives, and we have to figure out how to shed who we perceive our ways. We have to shed who we think we are and how we perceive ourselves, and start getting out there on how we want the world to actually see who we are.
It's maturity, isn't it? I think you grow up, you have great friends, great friends support you, especially in this industry. It's like, it's a big industry, but it's also really small. And, I think we all find ourselves in an industry where we all really like each other as well. And I think that's probably why I've stayed in it.
Oh, we are so lucky to be in the hospitality industry. I've never met so many great people. Before I got into this business, I was in music and entertainment business, and 99 out of 100 people I met were horrific, horrible, disgusting people that I didn't want to have anything to do with. Hospitality, flip that and then some. I rarely come across anybody that I do not like in this business. So thank goodness I found my path to this universe. So awesome. Anthony, how do you feel about people in our business?
I wanted to see how long I can go without asking a question, so you can ask me a question.
That was great. That typically you could go about 3 seconds. So I'm impressed that you went a good 7 there and made me ask you a question.
Amanda, is Forbes looking at the individual? Like, obviously, you do a lot of training, you do a lot of service training, but what classes and what training coming out of this will there be for me as an executive, for me as a manager, for me to kind of be an entrepreneur myself? Because one of the things that I think is really important right now is forget about branding, forget about hotels, forget about the company you work for. Really, I mean that sincerely. Just forget about it. When I was born into this business,
I think you mean forget about it.
I really believe when I was born into this business very early on, I remember saying this is Anthony Melcuri's business. I can work for a brand, I can work for a hotel, but I remember at 20-something years old, I distinctly remember saying I'm in the Anthony Melcuri business. Because when I lift my shingle off of that one hotel and I go to another hotel or to another company, I'm bringing my business with me. And what's my business? Me. That's my business. The only thing I don't have a pizza place. I don't have a restaurant. I don't have a hotel at the time. I just have me. So I remember feeling that. No one ever told me that. No one ever taught me that. I just felt it because that was a way of me to get control.
What an incredible insight.
To get control of myself. So what is Forbes doing to help executives and managers really understand that and prioritize that over everything?
Thank you for that question. You had Jeff Walkerpolen on a few weeks ago and his dog. And Jeff and his team are actually putting out a series of not only webinars that support, the question you just asked, but they also do custom classes, custom training. And, for us, in ratings, we curate the standard and we refine it year over year over year. We'll just use because of the question, we'll just use the example of the standard being genuine and intuitive. We don't define what that looks like because, to your point, Anthony, we want every individual staff member, when they're having an interaction with a guest, to let their own personality come through. So whether that personality is at brand A and then 5 years' time at brand B, they're still genuine and they're still themselves because, yes, they're going to have brand standards and they're going to have to be executed. But on top of that, they're delivering an experience for a guest. And that comes from the heart. You can't kind of checkbox your way through that. So in our area of the business, we write our standards so that is formatted in a way that anyone can achieve it and it's not homogenized. And then to your point, Jeff's team go out and show hotels, they show leaders, they show staff what that looks like, and more importantly, what that feels like in their own environment. Because what happens at brand A isn't the same way it's going to happen at brand B, but it's going to create that same feeling or experience in the guest. And that goes back to the way we write our standards, which is very general in that sense. Like, be intuitive, be genuine, be thoughtful, be kind.
You know what I'm afraid of going forward is I'm afraid of, because there's going to be people are going to be doing more, making less money. There are going to be less jobs potentially, and there's challenging times for executives. And right before this, there's a lot of young executives in positions that didn't have the experience and didn't have the foresight to really understand how to manage people. Yep. And I'm afraid that they're going to double down on their insecurities, kind of like I did early on in my career. And instead of be that leader and that speaker, because a lot of the senior leadership is going to leave and retire and move on, because they financially can. And we're stuck with this, with maybe managers that aren't at that level. And that's one of the things I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about, we need real leaders. And what is a real leader? A real leader is a vulnerable, passionate person that listens and that's not afraid to take what their employees are saying and move the team forward. Mm-hmm. And especially when you get into the higher 5-star, because of Forbes ratings and rating systems like that, there's so much pressure on me as a leader to get these standards right, because we have worked so hard, because there's nothing greater. When Miss Johnson was on our from
Sheila Johnson of Salamed, are you referring to?
Yeah, when she was on, and I said, "Where were you when you got that call that you were a 5-star hotel?" And she goes, "I was in Italy. My son was with me, and I went up to the suite." I remember it because it was so vivid. In her mind, it was so vivid. In my mind, the way she was describing it. So once you are able to jump that shark, once you're able to get to that 5-star, there's an elation that, you can't understand it unless you're in this business. It's bigger than the Super Bowl for me, for us. It's the biggest thing in the world. but getting there is very stressful. And because because it's hard. If everybody can do it, you'd be giving those awards out like candy, right?
Exactly. And it's harder to maintain it, but yeah, for sure.
It's hard to maintain it. And what happens is there's some things that gets lost in transition with leaders. And there's some, and you've seen them, Amanda, I've seen them. And we can probably write down, say, give me 5 great leaders and give me 5 terrible leaders. And we probably have the same list. Okay. And that's what I'm more concerned about. I'm concerned about people understanding that, yes, there's standards, and yes, we're a team, but don't let anybody ever take your spirit. And that's, to me, what I'm the most fearful coming out of this.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Anthony. And, I think I can probably sum that up in a nutshell. It's really, leadership is not about telling. It's just about listening to your point and really interacting with your staff as people, and not always feeling as the leader that you have the right answers and that you have to be the one to show and tell all the time. But, learn with your team and guide them and lead them from behind and let them forge their own way forward. And that goes back to the self-confidence that we were talking about before.
Right. When our dear friend and a person I just met a couple of years ago, when Jerry walks into a room, everybody else should leave. Right. And it's just this confidence and this ability to just make you feel comfortable. And most important person in the room. Me and him knew each other for 5 minutes, and we were hugging and kissing, and people thought we knew each other forever. We were best friends. And it's those kind of leaders that drive this business forward. And it's servant leadership. And he talked about it when he was on the show. I don't know if you saw it.
Yes, that was a great point. Yeah.
It was the best show, one of the best shows we've ever done. And then Horst Schultze, it was a great show. But he talked about servant leadership. I talk about servant leadership, and people like, no, I want to help you. I want to, please let me, do what I can do for you. In the beginning of my career, I was a general manager or VP that people were scared of. And I think now when
we still are.
My office, no, it's true, because when people walk in my office, people still say I'm intimidating. But the people that really understand me make fun of me. They walk in my office and they make fun of me. And they're like, everybody thinks you're scary. Like, you're an idiot. I'm like, I know, tell everybody. Right? Like Maddie, who's one of my producers, she thinks I'm the biggest moron in the world. And that's
a little scary.
How do you get people to lead, but also understand that your vulnerability is your strength? Anyway, I don't know if we're going to solve the problem.
I don't have a magic answer to that, but yeah, that's a good thing to ponder.
Yeah, all right, for sure. All right, so we're coming to that time. We got to start thinking about wrapping up right now. But Amanda, tell us a little bit more about what you guys are thinking about every single day, and how maybe people can engage with Forbes if they want to empower themselves, they want to empower their hotels, and all of that kind of good stuff.
We're just getting back into everything like everyone else. So we're starting to get back on the road. So we're starting to see, what's happening out there. It's too early to have any crystal ball, of course. But our best practices are on our website, forbes.com. We'll be committing to updating those as we get more information from the road and we see what's happening and what trends are evolving. And we hope to be back in the hotels like we were several months ago soon. We're being patient like everyone else. It's a process.
Yeah, we've needed a lot of patience. Hopefully, it looks like things are turning around, moving in the right direction. Thank goodness for all of us out there. Oh, we got Paula Argento. Thank you. Paula, I think I owe you an email out there. Sorry, I haven't gotten back to that. So check that out right there for Travel Guide /.com/landing/webinar. All right. Awesome. Man, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Hope to see you soon. Anthony, any final words for Amanda before we let her go?
I cannot wait to get to your annual event.
I know, soon, right?
Amanda, can I tell you a secret? Every time you see me, you think I'm taller than I am. You know why? You know why?
Why?
Because the first time I went out to Forbes Travel, I forgot that my tuxedo was washed away in Sandy. So I was traveling all over the world, and I had to go on Amazon and buy a tuxedo and shoes. And I bought them, and I had them shipped to me. And when I opened up the box at the Beverly Wilshire, where did we stay?
You were at the Hilton, yes.
Yeah, I opened them up, and I put the shoes on, and they had lifts in them.
So we're gonna have to figure that out then when we see you again.
So every time I wear a tuxedo, I wear those shoes because the only shoes I have for a tuxedo. And I'm 3 inches taller. So just so you know, I'm really kind of shorter than you think I am.
I look forward to the day we see you both again. Nice to
Thank
meet you.
you.
Take care, Amanda. Be good. Oh my goodness. Wow. I got to tell you, Anthony, that was a lot of fun. Not only is Amanda a great guest, but I had a really good time getting back to what we used to do every single episode on checking in with Anthony and Glenn. Just you and me. I want to do this again.
Let me tell you this. Amanda is one of the best people in our industry. Her intelligence, her enthusiasm, her ability to articulate a plan, and just her overall that like if we were in the military, she'd be like a 4-star general. She has that demeanor that nothing is a problem. We're going to solve the problem. And I just love being around her.
Yeah, I do too. So what do you think about the idea of us just shooting the S every on Fridays, as much as we possibly can, answer these questions? There were so many great questions. We couldn't even get to them today. I'd love to just do that more often.
There's got to be one question. I know you got to go because I got to go too, but I know there's a question.
I know, but here's the thing. We got so many comments. I'd have to go back to do to find more questions. So
we had a little bit more.
Here's one.
Okay, so thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And yes, thank you. Shout out to your family. It is very difficult to work with Glenn.
Yeah, excellent. Speaking about the difficulties of working with me, we got another great week next week. A lot of great guests. Anthony, while we were on the show, I was able to confirm that Andy Ingram, the CEO of NABHOOD, the National Association of Black Owners, Operators, and Developers, is going to be able to join us on Monday at noon. So we're going to be able to keep this conversation going, which is so important.
So happy, and I know it was important for us to get him on the show. And and shame on us because I wish we had him on the show and we were talking about this way before it was kind of forced upon. Like, hey, this is what we need to be talking about. Shame on us, honestly, because there's no reason why we shouldn't have been doing that. And when they had the conversation with a couple of people over the couple of weeks on the show, and I've been very kind because I haven't really kind of pushed too hard on some people, but even the leaders in this industry, some of them just don't get it.
That's true. There are some people that don't get it. I've had to remove a bunch of people from Facebook. So if you want to connect me on Facebook, I've got some more rooms, some more friends over there, because apparently there were some people out there that are just not the types of folks that I want to be associated with. What I would love everyone else to be associated with is, hey, join us next week. I'm debuting the Hotel Reboot Conference, hotelreboot.com. The first one is all about redesigning your business to deal with COVID with real actionable insights to help you. Please check that out, hotelreboot.com. We have incredible names, incredible people, and all that kind of stuff. And then I encourage you also to leverage Anthony's service at Hospitality Success in order to keep your business going as we move forward.
HospitalitySuccess.com or Hospitality Success on Facebook. Please reach out to us. We will set up a call with you. Now is the time. We cannot afford to make mistakes. I was on a call with a client yesterday for it was supposed to be an hour call, and it was I think 2.5 hour call.
Wow.
I just love just a great guy, and he's retiring. I don't want to go too much into it, but just an incredible individual. And he's like, I want to make the right decision. Doesn't have a hotel yet. Doesn't even have the land yet. But he doesn't want to make a mistake. And he hired us to help him make sure we get this right, because it was difficult to buy and finance a hotel before COVID. Going forward, when you look at an A-list city like New York and you look at Times Square 12 months ago, you're like, wow, if I had $100 million, that's where I'd buy a hotel, right? Well, first, you need $600 million, but okay. Now, I mean, the urban market, New York City, Times Square hotels, they're hurting. They're hurting. Yep. And because the market segment's changing. Now, if I have an open door corridor on the Jersey Shore, 1 block from the beach, I'm probably in better shape. So the market segmentation in all these markets are going to be changing in the next 12 to 18, 24, 36 months. So there's so much to it. So go to hospitalitysuccess.com, and me and my friend Jeremy will talk to you.
Beautiful. I absolutely love it. And I want to mention that all of you folks that like the booze thing, I see people would like us to do that more. I'm going to be continuing to do that from time to time. I think it'll be
do what?
The alcohol. People are wondering, about
Okay, can I be honest with you? Can we share our dirty laundry?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm kind of over the alcohol. I don't want to do it, and he likes doing it.
And I'm going to continue to do it separately.
Right? Oh, you do separate. We could do it together. I just like if you say, hey, no.
Now, I don't want you ever to be doing something that you don't feel is authentically you, right? That's what this is all about.
I just felt like it was too, like, you know how I felt. I felt it was like too branding. It was like, I felt like I was branding. Like, if we just want to teach people how to make a drink, let's teach them how to make a drink. We don't have to do this whole showman thing with the brand, and they just started to piss me off. And
well, how about guys? What do you think out there? What do you think? Is it too showy, too much? Because we're really just we're learning, we're figuring this stuff out, we're inventing it as we go along. We're going to have some home runs, we're going to have some major misfires too. One of the things about this community is you can be honest with us, and you can let us know how we could better entertain and educate and empower you.
Drinking on the show, I just want to go back to. This is alcohol. This is a glass. This is ice. These are a couple spices. This is how you make a drink. Have a nice day.
I like learning about where the brands come from and how the alcohol is made and all that kind of stuff. So it sounds to me, Anthony, that we're just gonna have to fight it out. So
although hold on, I will make an exception for my friend Hector, who owns a bar called Spanglish in Miami, and I will just tell you this: that me and Hector may be working on something. That if I get to announce this here on our show, it will literally blow that beautiful hair off your head.
Right. I love it.
If we were able to make this deal happen with someone, I just won't say who. But anyway, I'd like to bring Hector on, and he's one of the greatest people in the world. And yeah, he can make some drinks, but like, I don't mind doing it. I don't mind doing it. I just don't want to do it every week.
All right. I'm cool. I'm cool with that. And people seem to be taking your side. They love the drinking, not necessarily branding. So we'll see how we'll be able to make that work. The whole point of getting on these mixologists that run the brands is they're really experts at what they do. And my thought behind that was to be able to share as much insight and knowledge with you. But if it's not going to play right, it doesn't play right.
No, I agree with you. So let's make this deal, because somebody said helping small businesses was important, and it was who was it? It was one of our big Daniel.
Yeah, the Monotoni, for example.
So I have no problem, but then let's do it this way. This is so and so from so and so. They're in Connecticut, and we want to help fill their bar. I have no problem with that. So please, they have a great bar. This is why they have a great bar, and they have great alcohol, and this is why they have great alcohol. I have no problem, but it just seemed like they were a little separate from us, and they were kind of trying to put on a show, and I just wanted an authentic experience.
Yeah. All right. Hey, and Tanya, thank you so much for that nice compliment about my hair. I haven't had a haircut since, I don't know, February. So I think this is the longest it's ever been in my life. I'm like a month away from 60s era hippie guy, where I got to start putting the stuff in a bun in the back.
You know, somebody said, yeah, let's have the brands, but let's sell. Let's educate, not sell. And I agree. So as you see, the show is so real that me and him actually have these conversations live on the air.
Hey, it's a lot better. The good news is now we don't have to have a phone call where we focus on this, and we could just go about our Friday afternoon.
So should we talk about what we decided last night with the branding? What we're doing with the branding? You want to announce that now?
Let's wait until we talk to the other people that we have to talk to first, and have some stuff behind it. All right, if you don't mind. All right.
I have a question for you. Are you Italian?
Dude, come on. You know how it is.
Are you Italian?
Long Island Jews and Italians are the same thing, except for the Jesus factor.
You're not allowed. These are my moves, bro. You can't do this. These are mine.
Hey, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't get it, man. I don't know. Look, what can I tell you?
My director used to say Anthony has 3 moves, and you just took them all.
So is this an example of cultural appropriation? Let us know in the comments box. Anthony, I'm ready for a weekend. How about yourself, sir?
Anthony's hairstyle is the best. Actually, we may be doing business with somebody with my hairstyle. That's who I was talking about. We'll talk more about that another day. Hopefully that works out. What happened? What did you ask me?
I'm just trying to get us out of here gracefully, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, my friend. So what's your motto?
All right. Just subscribe to our newsletter. Text the word hotel to 66866. Thank you for being here. We love you guys.
I want to stop you. Okay. Text for our newsletter. Text that. What the hell's in the newsletter? Tell people what the hell's in the newsletter.
Oh, I usually do, but today I just
right now. What can I find? How can I get educated?
You can get access to all of the shows that we put out the week, plus some of the important news that's out there, and also some of the No Vacancy News Today broadcasts that I do, which are very news focused with a little analysis to them depending on what it is. So, for example, if you want to learn a little bit more about what's going on with that Choice Hotels lawsuit, we didn't talk about it specifically on the show. Watch that learn. So text the word hotel to 66866. Get that newsletter every Sunday night. It's the best of everything that Anthony and I are doing, plus a whole lot more. How'd that work out for you? That work good? Good for you there?
Thank you, Kim. Thinking of your family and your daughters for graduation. Thank you, Kim. Yeah, it's been a little unfortunate, stressful for my daughter who's graduating high school.
Yeah.
As all the kids who graduate high school. I'm going to make your newsletter better, Glenn. You ready?
Yeah.
Right now, here it goes. Live on air. I want a quote every Sunday.
Okay.
Every single week, you're going to put a Glenn Hausman quote. Not a quote you saw somewhere, but you can close your eyes. I come up with all my quotes, close my eyes for the quote. So you're going to close your eyes before you send your newsletter. You're going to spend 2 minutes, and you're going to come up with a Glenn Hausman quote, and you're going to quote. This is the quote, and then you put your name on it, and it's going to be yours.
Yeah.
Every Sunday, I want to hear a Glenn Hausman quote.
All right. I really appreciate that because I needed more work to do. So thank you.
See, and that's the difference, bro. But then we're going back to branding, right?
Yeah, I know.
Wait, hold on. This is an important moment. Like, just take a minute here.
All right.
I always say when people come into my office and I give them something else to do, there's two types of people. The person that leaves and go, oh, shit, I got something else to do. Or the person says, oh, this is an opportunity, right?
That's right.
I knew the second I handed somebody a piece of paper which person I was getting.
That's
and
right.
guess what? The people that walked away saying, oh, and they may come back with a great report, they never really got promoted. The person that popped off the ceiling and go, okay, boss, I'll get it for you, and we're excited to do the work. Like, that's an exciting thing to brand your branding, and all you saw is.
Yeah, no, I get it. The quote thing has never been my thing, but you're right. In that sense, but
you have things to share, right? You've been through the war, you've been through things. People want to hear from you.
I'll tell you, I'm actually surprised when I do share, and I'm a little bit more open and honest about my philosophies and who I am, that it is well received. So maybe you're right, Anthony.
Okay, this is the Glenn and Anthony hour, and Glenn will be sending me $250 for this session.
Yeah.
Let's try.
I could use some extra money, so check out hotelreboot.com. Thanks, Anthony. I really appreciate another great week with you. I'm looking forward to another great week next week.
Okay, I'm going to challenge you. Come up with a quote. Go. You have 3 seconds.
Yeah, you've got one life, so blaze on. And
thank you so much for checking in.
see you guys next week.